So welcome to another update from the Siamerican here. So we catch up on our backlog of clips. As you can see here, it's not the season that this video comes out in. This was clearly late autumn, early winter of 2024-2025 in Durango, and yeah, it came early. The word is that it was pretty much mild for the rest of the winter, but it came early, and then it also persisted later on with a late spring start here this year. Yeah, reflecting back to this most recent autumn and winter, this was marking 3 years since we came back to the United States on not the most ideal circumstances, and our hand was basically forced to make some decisions back then. Coming back to the US, I might have explained this in previous vlogs and updates. It's been a long time coming, and there were many false starts and plans to return for the last few decades with my family, but as it was, it's hard to leave a place like Thailand, especially when you got everything established there. And it was almost to the point back at the end of 2021, 3 years ago, coming into the winter back in 2021, 2022, right at the height of the craziness that was going on back then, that I wasn't going to return to the US, and that my wife's visa was just going to expire and we weren't going to renew it. At that time, we had the visa that we kept renewing it and extending it, or reissuing it technically is what was going on. But you had to do a new medical check every 6 months, and the requirements that go with that, including a police check, because the validity of those procedures is only 6 months at a time. And so of course, during the craziness of COVID and all the, I would say, infringing requirements that were in place at the time in order to get a proper medical weren't exactly aligned with what we believed and believe in. So her latest visa validity at that time was up until basically December 2021, and I had plans earlier in the year. We were gonna move back, and then I wasn't sure the way things were going. I had everything going good for me in Thailand, but then something unexpected happened. Essentially, my sister, senior to me by 3 years, same mother, same father, she had passed away under some mysterious circumstances, which are still baffling to this day. It was written on her thing, COVID. Of course, everybody died of COVID at that time, if you know what I mean. And there was other things going on in the background that we kind of knew in hindsight that, it would make sense why she would die suddenly. All I have to say is that, and I'm sure you can put two and two together, but nonetheless, I had to come back for her funeral, come home and be with family at that time, and of course wanted to keep my family together, and that was the reason to activate my wife's visa at the time. So that was 3 years ago. We came back and haven't looked back since. All right, well, let me be frank with you all here. On the surface, people who knew us, her family, remember that she was kind of putting on this front that she was anti what, that she wasn't gonna get it, she was gonna hold strong, and I think in hindsight, with what we know now, I think that was all a front. She was in a circumstance where she was being pressured to get it at her job in order to maintain her job, and she really wanted to maintain her job, not for the usual reasons we know, and I'm not gonna throw all my dirty laundry out there on the internet there, but we do know that she had a lot of reason why she would want to keep this job beyond the usual reasons of economics and family. That of course was motivating her too, but you can do that with any job, but this particular job was putting her under pressure to get what, and the circumstances of why she wanted to keep the freedom that she had with her job made it very plain and clear, and some other circumstantial reasons that me and other close family suspect now, because leading up 2-3 weeks prior to that, at the same time that she was being pressured to get what, she had approached another family member about what to do to detox. A friend of a friend. I met some random person who got it, and they needed to detox instantly from what. At the time it was, she died because she didn't get what. She got the COVID. She got sick because of that, and that's a bunch of bollocks. I mean, there was other reasons too. The COVID, as far as whatever you want to think it is, there's no denying that what was going on in society in general, without my digging myself too deep into this public conversation, there was a lot of changes, technologically speaking, going on in society, and it's still going on to this day, but that was the big introduction of something, of the silent killer, as they say. And it's happened many times. Anybody who understands their history, especially about electromagnetics, it's happened many times in the last 200 to 300 years. What happens when we reach a new level, technologically speaking. Let's just keep it at that. Very vague, I know, but if you know, you know. But anyway, nonetheless, I'm convinced that she got you know what, and that led up to this mysterious sudden death. But I did want to put this out there. It makes you think that we are on a ticking time clock here on this planet, in this realm, and so can't take things for granted is, I guess, the takeaway home message for this little monologue here. Hesitated a bit on whether I should air this out there, whether I should even record this monologue, let alone put a video out there. And I figure, this is not something that's just like a spur of the moment. Like, I think this has kind of been lingering for a long time. We're back in the U.S., my family, and we're grateful for Stephanie, the sacrifice she made. I'm not saying she died so we can come back, but there was a point leading up to that where she really wanted me to come back, and I was letting her down by telling her, like, I'm not going to come back, Stephanie. I got everything in Thailand. Everything's good here. I don't really see a reason to come back to the U.S. This was the last 3-4 months before she died, and so ultimately she died, and we had to come back as my sister would have wanted. Ultimately, I guess, for the better of my then teenage son, and as well as my young toddler who's just really excited about the world in general, and I think he loves the U.S. more than anybody. And of course, my wife, who now is an American citizen 3 years after the fact. But you know what? Thank you, Stephanie. And of course, my intention isn't to stir up bad blood, but you can't go on living life in cognitive dissonance and denying the clear signs and circumstances in front of you. Sometimes you just gotta accept things for what they are. And whether or not she took there's no way I'll ever know. I know other family members who have that right to go and check. Could do that, but probably for what? Thanks for listening. If you've gotten this far, I'll be updating you with some more general vlogs, and every now and then I might have a monologue like this to really say what I'm really thinking, other than just my daily life and my DIY and various projects that are going on. But until then, see you again soon.